to movie guy. Okay.
Dunkirk, based on true events of the Second World War, of 400,000 British soldiers being evacuated from occupied France. They were pushed to the ocean and were surrounded by Germans through the air and on the ground and in the water. They were basically trapped, and it's the efforts of the people that brought them back to Britain, and they made it successful. Christopher Nolan has now is back again after Interstellar. We're still in post Dark Knight trilogy world where we don't really know what Nolan is going to be making, but Dunkirk is his latest. He has basically bended the concept of a war film, and he has taken a very different approach to it. It's not this long-winded 3-hour epic where we expect a lot of character development, a lot of background information, a lot of development, from politicians and the leaders of the armies. There's no Hitler, there's no Churchill, there's no Charles de Gaulle, there's no one in this film. It's just basically the people and a couple of high-ranking officers, and it's just basically their escape from Dunkirk. We go from land, we go from the sky, and we go from the ocean. We have a stellar cast here. We have Mark Rylance, Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, Kenneth Branagh, newcomers Fionn Whitehead, Harry Styles, of course. Very interesting choice. We'll talk about him a bit more in a bit. My initial thoughts is that Dunkirk is different, and that is something you should enjoy. The first opening scene, it submerges you in this situation we're in. We know that we're under fire, we know we're in trouble, and we need to get out. So that I enjoyed, but as the carrying on of the film, I did feel I was being disinterested in the back end. First two parts are really good, and then the third act, I just felt like, could we just get back to Blackpool and go on a few beers? That'd be nice. That's how I felt at the end of the film. Is it Nolan's masterpiece? No, The Prestige is still his best film, in my opinion, and I will stick to that till my dying day, probably. He does direct the hell out of this film, obviously. He keeps bending the ideas. I did like the drowning scenes because, like, the way that he moves the camera and the angles of the drowning sequences are just so different. His scope is always so gigantic and big because of these IMAX cameras. You're just overindulged in this scene of the beach and just the body, the human, the soldiers, the planes, everything. It's just so gigantic. And that's what I enjoy about Dunkirk. Obviously, the lack of character development for someone that does enjoy character development is quite difficult for me to. I can't really relate to anyone. Survival is obviously the main key to any human being. We have this urge to survive, and that is what happens in Dunkirk, and that's what I enjoy about Dunkirk. But at the same time, I felt like I did need to have some form of connection with some of these characters, and I didn't really have that. I feel like Mark Rylance was the strongest in it. You felt like he had a commitment and he had a passion to why he wanted to lead his little yacht to Dunkirk with two young boys rather than the Navy going over there to save these people. I did enjoy that story. I did like the pickup of Cillian Murphy. I did enjoy Tom Hardy in this as the RAF pilot as well. But again, such a mysterious character, you don't really know much about him. I did like his ending. His ending was interesting. The other thing that you need to think about as well, there is never mention of Nazis and you never see the enemy. They're called the enemy throughout this film, and I really do like that as well. This is a universal story of survival rather than we're just in a moment in time. Fionn Whitehead and Harry Styles, I think they're very good feature debut performances, but Harry Styles was actually all right. There's this one scene where he has a confrontation with someone, and I was like, oh my god, this guy actually can deliver some good lines and impact it. So I did like that quite a bit. Fionn Whitehead, he's got this weird Christian Bale look to him, and I can see that he has a career ahead of him, which is fair enough. Kenneth Branagh, very short appearance in this film. Obviously, you need this British anchor to keep this film going, and he comes in and out, and yeah, decent. Not enough Cillian Murphy. I love Cillian Murphy, great actor, but it's a shame that we didn't really see much of him. Um, but all in all, I did like it in that way. Hans Zimmer's score I really did enjoy. I thought it was very, very good, very impactful. It worked very well in a lot of the scenes. It does, the music sometimes goes too loud, and then the sound design and the sound editing isn't really, you don't hear it as much. Like with Fury, David Ayer's Fury, which I really do like, the sound is so great. You can hear the guns going, the tanks moving, and everything like that. And Nolan, I think, missed a small niggly thing there with the music overpowering the sound, which is a shame. Considering this is his shortest film as well, and allegedly not many scenes were cut, you think that he'd focus a bit more on that element, because in war films, sound is key, really. I do like the blue-grey look of this film. I think it works well because it's very cold, but at the same time, you can see the beauty of the ocean and the beaches, but there's such a sinister situation happening. So I do like it under that way, but I just feel like the development of the story, and maybe I wouldn't say the lack of story, because that's just, it's not the point of the film, but it's just the development of it. You just feel very hollow leaving out this film. I didn't feel inspired or encouraged or anything like that. It's just a decent film, and I respect the film, but at the same time, I would not watch it again. I don't think it'd even smack the top five of Nolan's films right now. I don't know. Do I need to rewatch it? We'll see, but it'd be 3.5 out of 5 for me, guys. So if you want to discuss this any further, or my written review is down below. Talk to me, whatever you want. I'm here. So, diolch, danke, gracias, obrigado, goodbye.
Ok.